What is up, guys? Broken Ronin here, and in this video, just like the title and thumbnail suggest, I'll be talking about Ichigo Kurosaki as a main character, and more specifically, how I think he is probably one of the most realistic characters in Shonen. Not to say that every aspect of him as a human being is realistic, but I guess more to say that he has a very realistic trait to him that I think I really want to harp on. Not only because the Bleach anime is right around the corner, hopefully at least, but also because I've been seeing a lot of unnecessary hate towards his character, so I felt like this would be an appropriate time to really talk about Ichigo. Now, one thing I quickly want to preface before I dive really into the depth of his realism is the fact that just because you have an aspect of your character that is especially good, like for example, Ichigo is very realistic, that also has a major drawback, which is that he can be easily perceived as a boring or uninteresting character. And while I personally never was bored of Ichigo's character and never really got bored of him, I can understand from like a semi-objective point of view how many people could consider him boring. And I am not by any means trying to say he is the best main character. I actually like even like characters like I have many main characters that I rank above him. So I just want to preface this with he's not the best main character in Shonen in my opinion, or in manga. He's not even the best character in a series. But I really want to talk about this good aspect that I think Ichigo has to him. Now, when I say realism or the most realistic character in the context of this video, what I mean is that Ichigo Kurosaki as a character and as a human being within the world of Bleach, although he's not fully human, what I mean by that is essentially that he is closest to what a real-life human being, your regular 15 or 16-year-old person, your regular 15 or 16-year-old, your adolescent, a teenager, if you will, would be. And mainly that comes from one aspect of Ichigo's character, or more like something that he doesn't do or doesn't have that really other characters do. And that's this massive, overarching, insane goal that most, like, shonen characters have. For example, Naruto wants to become the Hokage even though he's at the bottom of his village. Deku wants to become the #1 hero even though at the start of the series he had no quirk. Asta was a magicless, talentless peasant that wanted to become the Wizard King. Luffy wants to find the One Piece, right? All of these are some examples of main characters that have these lofty, insane, large goals that they are reaching for. And Ichigo, if you've read or watched Bleach, as you can tell, doesn't have that type of goal. Now, some people could see this as a drawback. Some people could see this as a lack of motivation for the character. And I really think that's a misinterpretation of Ichigo. I don't think Ichigo's a person or character that lacks motivation. I think he's just written to be something much more realistic, much more down to earth, and much more, I guess, human in the aspect of his motivations than many other people would like to perceive him to. Because keep in mind, right, if I'm arguing about Ichigo being a great protagonist from a realistic standpoint, you have to realize 99% of people you find do not yell out and declare their hopes and dreams at the top of their lungs out of, like, just out of randomness. The same way Naruto yells out in the middle of a village that I want to become the Hokage, the same way that Luffy demands that he's going to find the One Piece, the same way that Deku cries out to become the #1 hero, that's not something normal people do. One, because it's just considered weird, and two, many people don't have goals that are as lofty as that. If you really look at it from like a kind of translating the anime to real life, all of these goals are extremely lofty. They're essentially some of the pinnacle of what you could be within that verse, right? Imagine every single human being trying to be the pinnacle of humanity, right? That's something that's just simply unrealistic, and that doesn't make those protagonists bad by any means. Obviously, it's fiction. It's perfectly fine for them to be exaggerated to great extents, but that does take away to some extent from their realism. If you were to look at your typical 15 to 16-year-old male, I'm just out of that age demographic at 17, so I feel like I'm kind of, I've been there before, you could say, so I feel like I'm kind of qualified to talk about this, but I'll say most of us don't have these extreme dreams yet. Most of us don't even know what we want to do. We're kind of like just floating out in the stratosphere of life, trying to figure out what's happening, where we're going to go in the next few years, what being an adult is like. And while Ichigo doesn't necessarily struggle with those ideas, he definitely comes off as a character that doesn't have these extremely in-depth, lofty motivations, right? Which it can be interpreted as bad or good depending on where you're looking at it. from a certain point of view, it is less interesting than having a super lofty goal. It gives him a less more defined path, you could say. But on the other hand, like I've been arguing within the realm of this video, it gives him a sense of realism. It makes Ichigo a little bit more relatable. He's just, at the end of the day, a chill person. He loves his friends, he loves his family. But besides that, Ichigo won't really go out of his way to do very many things. Like, he's not like a character who strives every day to become stronger for the sake of this Hokage-like goal, King of the Pirates-like goal, or whatever you really want to say. Ichigo is just a person who is existing and is kind of figuring out who he is along the way. And honestly, it's pretty interesting to see when you read it from that point of view. When you look at Ichigo as a character who essentially has been thrust into battle and is a kind of going through this like pubescent stage of not only literally being in the middle of puberty as a teenager, but as a soul reaper, as a hollow, and that's a whole nother video. But I'll say this: you can look at Ichigo's transformations and progression from soul reaper to hollow to something else that I won't spoil for all you anime onlys that haven't read the manga. You can kind of interpret that as a way of Ichigo quite literally going through puberty in two senses, as a human and as all of these other species that exist within the verse. And I feel like that's something that's pretty interesting. I feel like that's something that's downplayed within the Bleach community sometimes. And even outside of the community, a lot of people like to just say he's very one-note, one-dimensional. But I think there is more depth to Ichigo's character as a whole than people give it credit for. Like I said, he doesn't have these extreme motivations. While he is still willing to fight for his friends, right? He is still willing to fight for what he believes in. He's not someone who is overly exaggerated, and as such, this realism makes him stand out from the crowd. I would say he's probably the most unique from that standpoint, at least in the big three. He stands out quite a bit from Luffy and Naruto in the sense where he's much more grounded, he's much more realistic, and you could say that his development kind of comes from these battles, which most shonen protagonists do, most protagonists of any battle-oriented series do. But I think the way Ichigo develops is a little bit different. He's developing his mind, he's developing who he is, what he's willing to fight for, his determination, and almost going through this pubescence as a human, as a hollow, and as a Shinigami. And I think all of these things in combination, in tandem with his age group, in tandem with the semi-realistic world that he lives in, makes Ichigo one of the most realistic characters from a regular human teenager standpoint. But that is simply one man's opinion. Let me know what you think about Ichigo Kurosaki as a main protagonist and as a character down in the comment section below. I'm pretty interested in hearing the response on this. If this video does relatively well, I'll make sure to do more character analysis and a video talking about Ichigo's developmental stages as not only a human, but his other species, a Soul Reaper and Hollow, to be the ones I'll only mention in this video. But I just want to preface this as I kind of close out the video that I'm not saying that Ichigo by and far is like literally has the most realism to him. I think he has an extremely realistic personality. His goals are realistic, and the things that he goes through, while exaggerated and exemplified through battle, can be related and tied back to what being a normal human, a regular teenager, an adolescent, if you will, is. And I think that's something that makes him an extremely cool and interesting character when looked at with a little bit more of a skeptical lens. In any case, if you guys want more Bleach videos and want to watch another Bleach video that I dropped, I'll make sure to leave that link down in the description below, in the cards and in the end screen that should be showing up in a few seconds now. If you guys did enjoy, want more content like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell so you don't miss out on more content like this. I really do like talking about Bleach, and as the Bleach anime rolls around, as it gets more hype around it, I'll definitely make sure to make more and more content on it. So stick around if you guys are looking forward to that. In any case, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, this is Broken Ronin, signing